Season's greetings, fellow gorehounds, and welcome back to the second annual Blood Splattered Christmas Special. This week we'll be sledding down the slippery slope of controversy as we dive into the infamous holiday slash fest, Silent Night, Deadly Night. But before we talk about the main movie, I think it is first very important that we familiarize ourselves with the history behind the film's backlash.
Let's take a trip back to the early 1980s. Reaganomics is in full effect. Bruce Springsteen's Born in the USA still blasting the airwaves, and you're a relatively conservative parent sitting down with your children to watch, let's say an episode of Night Court. You're enjoying the episode, and your kids might be too, though some of the jokes are clearly flying over their heads. But then an insidious TV spot plays over the commercial break, one depicting a murderous Santa Claus taking axes to doors and pointing guns at unsuspecting bystanders. You're absolutely horrified, disgusted, and to make things worse, your children are now begging you to skip Christmas this year. Christmas! So that Santa won't come to get them!
So naturally, instead of doing the same thing and just protesting the TV spot, which by the by did get pulled from television a week later, you parental unit of the 1980s thought the best course of action would be to try to get the whole damn movie banned. Because America, land of the free, unless you piss off our mothers.
Yeah, I think it's safe to say, like most things, the initial reaction was understandable. I totally get that parents were pissed off because a commercial pretty much destroyed their children's beloved fantasies, but the long haul? That was definitely overblown. Even Siskel and frickin' Ebert put their hat into the ring, singling out the film's production crew by name because they thought the film was so despicable.
Let me repeat the names of the writer and director and producers of this film. Michael Hickey wrote the film, Charles E. Sellier Jr. directed it, and Ira Richard Barmack produced it. You people have nothing to be proud of, even if you made a few bucks off of all the negative publicity. Your profits truly are blood money.
Holy shit! And to think we of the internet age like to believe we invented the concept of raging at movies we didn't like. Anyway, I think it's time we unwrapped this reviled classic and discovered whether or not it lives up to its negative reputation. So without further ado, I present to you the original Silent Night, Deadly Night.
Oh yeah, before we begin, I must first specify the version I'll be discussing this week is the uncut Anchor Bay release, which repieced together all the footage the filmmakers had to cut in order to retain an R rating. Which means the version I'll be looking at is actually gorier than the one parents protested. Hells yeah!
So if you think you can't handle it, then you best turn back now. But I'm sure you won't. I mean, you're not scared of a little bit of blood, are ya?
Our film splashes into action with a gloriously cheesy title sequence.
Oh yeah, you can definitely feel the quality of this production practically oozing off the screen. Oh, and how sticky sweet it is.
We're then introduced to our main character, Billy, as his family travels to a psychiatric hospital so that he can meet his dear old grandpa.
Because mental wards are clearly the perfect place for a family bonding experience. Parents of the year, man!
Once inside the mental health facility, Billy's family leaves him alone with his comatose grandpa, who turns out to be anything but comatose. Aw, why so scared, Billy? He's just your kind, understanding grandfather. In fact, you should thank him since he's gracious enough to warn you of the terrifying threat that is the jolly bearded fat one.
You see Santa Claus tonight? You better run, boy. You better run for your life.
I can only hope I'm half as awesome as Grandpa when I'm old and senile. You the man, Gramps.
So after Grandpa effectively traumatizes Billy, coincidentally in the same fashion parents of the 80s claimed the TV spots did to their kids, the family comes across a broken down car and beside it, a man conveniently dressed as Santa Claus. Oh, you just know this is going to end well for all parties involved.
Aw, don't worry, Billy. They were naughty parents anyway. Remember what Grandpa said. Maybe if you're a good little boy, then Santa Claus will bring you some real parents.
We then flash forward to a Catholic-run orphanage where Billy's artistic endeavors gets him a one-way ticket to Mother Superior's naughty list.
Explain this, William.
I don't know what the hell they're talking about. I used to make those same kind of drawings back when I was a kid. And I turned out just fine.
After Billy sulks in his room for a while, Sister Margaret, who we will soon find out serves as his film's Dr. Loomis stand-in, suggests he go outside and play. Unfortunately, this idea backfires when Billy stumbles across... Oh my.
Yeah, Billy, you peep that shit. You peep that shit and learn what it takes to be a real man. They all grow up so fast.
Unfortunately for both the audience and Billy's psychosis, the sexy fun is spoiled when Mother Superior shows up and goes all Margaret White on their asses. Literally.
Devil!
What? No mention of the ladies' dirty pillows? Psh! Amateur.
Punishment is absolute. Punishment is necessary. Punishment is good.
And that line will in no way come back to haunt her. No siree, Bob.
We cut to Christmas when Mother Superior decides the best way to cure Billy of his Santa phobia is to force him to sit on Santa's lap.
You will learn gratitude. Say thank you to Santa Claus.
Oh, he'll say thank you. With his fists! Like a boss?
Following that, the film jumps to Billy's adulthood, where Sister Margaret gets him a job at the local toy store. It's at this point the film's tone shifts completely and morphs into an 80s feel-good sitcom.
I'm looking for the warm side of the door, where the fire's bright and it's burning every night. Everybody will be there, and they'll be smiling at me, and I won't need no more on the warm side of the door.
While Billy deals with his late-blooming sexuality, the store managers informed their Santa Claus broke his hip and therefore can't come into work. This, of course, leads to the absolutely genius idea of putting Billy in the suit.
Take a closer look at yourself in the mirror, Billy. And just remember, be jolly.
Oh, he'll be jolly. With his axe! And not one single fuck was given that day.
Needless to say, wearing the Santa suit drives Billy a little bit nuts, but the straw that breaks the psychological camel's back is when he discovers a fellow employee raping the girl he just so happens to be interested in. This, of course, causes all the repressed memories to come flooding back in.
Definitely not the most dignified way to go, but hey, look on the bright side. If you stand him up and put some ornaments on him, then your new Christmas tree will surely be the talk of the whole town.
Billy promptly sets his sights on the girl, and if you're thinking he's going to let her go just because she gets his dick hard, you've got another thing coming.
Now, it's pretty damn obvious that no one working on this film read any psychological studies on serial killers, so they pretty much went with the common cliches of the traumatic past reinforced by religious guilt. But outside of that problem, I actually do like that this film's main character isn't the victims, but instead the killer himself.
It's a different kind of horror than most slasher films, which are usually based around the fear of an early death. Silent Night, Deadly Night, on the other hand, is about the societal fear of creating monsters. It has more in common thematically with something like Universal's Frankenstein than it does Black Christmas. That's not to say other slasher films don't touch on this idea to some degree. The backstory of Mrs. Voorhees, for example, absolutely does. But it's not at the forefront the way it is in this movie, which means a big part of what makes this flick scary isn't necessarily watching the killer off people, but rather how much you sympathize with the killer himself. It deliberately causes introspection in the viewer, who now must come to terms with the fact that they found something relatable in a psychopath.
Now, with all that being said, there are definitely superior films that tread similar ground with far more dignity and class, such as May, Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer, Taxi Driver, Frailty, and of course, Monster. All of which I'd recommend over this film if you find that particular subject frightening.
Anyway, let's get back to the movie, shall we? After offing his two fellow employees, Billy delivers his resignation letter in quite possibly the clearest way imaginable.
Well, he sure hammered his point home.
After Billy finishes off the rest of the work staff, we cut to two teenagers making out on a pool table and... oh, hey! It's Linnea Quigley, the boobtastic scream queen from Night of the Demons and Return of the Living Dead. Always a pleasure to see her.
I may or may not have reached sexual maturity because of her. What? TMI? Psh, prudes.
2 ball in the corner pocket.
2 ball in the corner pocket, eh? How about 2 antlers in your girlfriend's stomach, motherfucker? Oh my, double penetration. This scene's positively pornographic.
Billy throws the boyfriend out the window and then comes across Linnea Quigley's little sister and...
Have you been good? Or have you been naughty?
I'm not the only one getting rapey vibes here, am I? Oh, he was just getting his box cutter. Oh, that's a relief. Anyway, carry on.
Elsewhere, Sister Margaret discovers Billy's gone off the deep end, so she teams up with the local sheriff to stop him, but they're constantly one step behind. So, they decide the best course of action would be to figure out where he ultimately plans to take his murdering spree, which leads them to the only logical conclusion: the orphanage. I'm sorry, but I just love the look on this kid's face. It so perfectly screams, well, here's a permanent scar on my psyche.
My favorite part, though, the Santa Claus he took out, it wasn't Billy.
My God, it's Father O'Brien. He was our Santa this year.
He didn't respond.
Of course not, he's deaf. He couldn't hear it.
You know, for a blunder that bad, I think these cops have officially earned this treatment. Oh, that's right. I went there.
So the bumbling cop from before stakes out the orphanage, waiting for Billy to show up, but not before having a little confrontation with one Mother Superior.
I am Mother Superior, and so far all you have done is harm.
Technically, the same could be said about you, Mother Superior. And you know what they say about glass houses. Naughty! Oh, too late. Are you fucking kidding me? The one person who actually does deserve Billy's rage makes it out completely unscathed? Man, that's some bullshit.
You're safe now. Santa Claus is gone.
Congratulations, boys and girls. You all just won a lifetime supply of psychiatry bills. Tell us, how do you plan to celebrate such an occasion?
Naughty.
Great answer! Anyway, that was Silent Night, Deadly Night, and yeah, it's got some problems.
As I implied before, this film's psychological depth reaches about as far as Rob Zombie's Halloween, which is why I only recommend viewing it as a piece of cheesy entertainment. The kills are a lot of fun, and there's some amazingly over-the-top performances here that are bound to have you rolling in the aisles. And as far as the controversy goes, this film definitely did not deserve the scathing treatment it got. It's harmless. And as one who did seek it out at a very young age, I really don't get what kids freaked out about. Though I recognize that my personal experience does not necessarily negate that of others. So to some degree, I agree with what Lillian Chauvin, the actress who played Mother Superior, had to say regarding the film's publicity, that it might have been better off if they marketed the film on Billy's psychosis rather than the Santa Claus aspect.
Though personally, the sole reason I sought out the film in the first place was to see Santa kill a bitch. So I get why they marketed it the way they did. I guess there's just not an easy answer here either way. Anyway, if you're looking for a slashing good time this holiday season, then I highly recommend Silent Night, Deadly Night. Now, if you excuse me, I got some new neighbors to welcome to the neighborhood. Toodles. And now, as a special bonus, I present to you Billy versus Jack Frost.
Don't you know who I am? I'm the world's most pissed off Stowcode! You can't fall!
Best damn movie ever, man!